Now, the strike action by the nurses is entering its second week. It's not clear whether they'll continue or not, because while they remain out of the wards, some midwives say they are working. There's also some injunction that has been secured by the National Labour Commission. We are not sure if the nurses have been served yet, but here's a quick overview of the situation at the hospitals in a report filed by Fawuzu Masaudu.
The strike, which has entered day 3, stems from delay by the government to implement a 2024 collective agreement which contains provisions for the conditions of service for nurses and midwives, including a 13th month salary, fuel and medical allowances, and renewal of their practicing licenses by government. ChannelOne News' checks at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital in Accra reveal a non-operational OPD as patients expressed concern about its impact.
It's unfortunate for me because my BP drugs are finished, so I wanted to come so that they can direct me to a doctor for them to write some prescription for me. But unlucky for me, they are on strike, so I have no other choice than to go home. With them, I can use the National Health to buy some of the drugs and purchase some free, but for now, I have to buy all of them. And it's not easy. Being a dialysis patient and buying drugs, it's not easy. So
what will your call to the striking?
We are begging them to come back. We are pleading with them. In God's name, we are pleading with them to come back. They have no other choice than to help us. So we are begging them to come back.
The situation is no different in the Ashanti region, where services at health facilities, including the Menchia and South Central hospitals, have been significantly disrupted. Here, patients waited in long queues and, in some cases, were turned away.
When somebody comes in, we need to triage the patient. That is, we need to know their vitals, the BP, the fasting blood or running, their weight, their height, and this is all done by our nurses. Once they are not here, that is a difficulty. Those who have been replacing them, we need to have some experience. So yes, we are trying to help modifying, but it's quite a difficult one. So the most impact is from the triage. It's quite a difficult one.
Consequently, some hospitals like the Ifi and Kwanta Hospital in Sekondi in the Western region are relying on rotational nurses for essential services as patients re-echoed the troubling impact of the strike.
So we came for a child welfare clinic, but we were not attended to because the nurses say they are on strike.
Did you have to stop something that you were doing?
Yes, I had to leave school and then come for the clinic. So I left my job and then came for the child welfare. So to the government, I think whatever the nurses are demanding, you should give it to them so that they can get back to work. And then to the nurses, we are pleading with them that they should also reconsider their decisions.
As concerns continue to intensify, health authorities in the Volta region, where the situation remains same, have warned against the involvement of unauthorized personnel in the provision of health care. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health has appealed to the association to call off their strike for further negotiations on their demands.
This committee has been accepted by the nurses. However, they said they will serve on the committee, all right, but they will still embark on the strike. We are appealing to them to go back to work whilst we have this negotiation. It is important to note that since the coming into office of the Honorable Minister for Health, Honorable Kobina Kando, the document we are talking about, we have not sat with them together with the Ministry of Finance to look at the document. They are just saying that because it was discussed by the previous administration, it has to be signed. The minister is just appealing and pleading with them that it's important for him to also know what actually went into the negotiations so that he would advise his colleague going forward. We must know that the health sector, we have 80 to 90 health professionals. And if you come to office, you must look at what is there.
So the strike action is entering its second week. What else can you tell us about this?
So the News Center writes that total withdrawal of services is scheduled to begin today as Ghana teeters on the precipice of a full-scale health catastrophe. The message from patients, nurses, and even doctors is unmistakably clear. Enough is enough. If urgent steps are not taken, this crisis could spiral into a national tragedy, remembered not just as a failure of policy but as a moral failure, a failure of compassion. The right to health is not a privilege, it is a fundamental human right. And so it goes on to focus on the registered nurses and midwives' demand for justice and dignity. At the heart of this healthcare breakdown is the industrial action declared by the association, and their grievance is that there's a broken promise. The government's delay in implementing the collective agreement signed in May 2024 aimed at improving the working conditions and welfare of Ghana's overburdened nurses and midwives. While negotiations and political finger-pointing drag on, it is the sick, those whose lives hang in the balance, who continue to pay the steepest price. Now, in a strongly worded communique, the association, that's the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, defended the strike, citing frustrations over intimidation, divisive, and false narratives aimed at undermining their cause. The association insists it has exhausted all diplomatic channels and is acting in the best interest of the profession and the patients they serve. Quote, "It's not just about salaries," Perpetual say, a senior midwife said. "It's about being treated with dignity. We work 12-hour shifts in outstretched facilities, often without adequate equipment or support. We are tired, emotionally, physically, and financially." The association is demanding urgent approval and implementation of the collective agreement by the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Health, warning that OPD and emergency services could also be withdrawn entirely if negotiations stall further. So we are told that interns and rotation nurses are caught in the crossfire. As the mainstay of the healthcare workforce withdraws, confusion and anxiety reign among the ranks of rotation and trainee nurses. In an attempt to stem the bleeding, the Ministry of Health directed all interns and rotation nurses to remain at post. But the Rotational Nurses and Midwives Association has strongly pushed back, warning its members not to engage in unsupervised work. Now, in a joint communique signed by the RNMA President Ebenezer Boateng and General Secretary Mavis Akoto Frimpong, the group cited Nursing and Midwifery Council standards which prohibit unsupervised clinical practice. Quote, "Remaining at post without proper supervision is a direct violation of professional standards," the statement said. It could expose interns to legal consequences and professional ruin. So, the association has emphasized that interns should not be pressured to act without oversight, stating, "Being present at post without a license or supervisor while clients may be suffering exposes you to potential legal consequences. It is crucial to understand that such actions, though well-intentioned, could place your career and future at risk. So there is a call for urgent parliamentary intervention. With a looming deadline for a possible total shutdown for all nursing and midwifery services today, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has called on Parliament to intervene and pressure the ministries to honor the obligations. Quote, "What else must we do?" one nurse asked rhetorically on social media. "Do we wait until babies start dying in delivery wards and our elderly collapse in hospital queues before something is done?" The Ministry of Health has urged striking nurses to return to work while negotiations continue, warning that prolonged industrial action could collapse Ghana's already fragile healthcare system.
I must also say quickly, Bernard, that last week we saw notice of an interlocutory injunction granted by a court regarding the strike. So the story is published by citynewsroom.com by Abigail Arthur. Says NLC secures injunction against Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association strike. And the story says the National Labour Commission has secured an interlocutory injunction against the ongoing strike by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Now, this comes after the Commission declared the strike illegal and directed the association to call off the strike. Now, the injunction granted by the High Court, Industrial and Labor Division in Accra, immediately restrains the association and its members from continuing their industrial action. Now, this ruling, issued on June 5, 2025, follows an ex parte motion filed by the NLC, arguing that the strike was illegal and severely disrupting healthcare services across the nation. Now, the court, presided over by Justice Priscilla Dikro Ofori, upheld the NLC's request, ordering the association, its executives, officers, and members to cease all strike activities with immediate effect. Now, the injunction will remain in effect for 10 days, after which the NLC must reapply on notice to the association if further legal action is required. So, as explained, this is an expert. It was an ex parte application. In other words, without notice to the other side.
Yeah, and what the nurses have said to us is that they are striking until they are officially served. So this was ChannelOne News reporting that the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has reiterated its decision to sustain the ongoing strike, citing the absence of an official injunction notice from either the court or the NLC. Of course, this story is dated June 6.
Okay,
so we don't know if by now they've been served. Now, just to summarize what we know so far, the Registered Nurses Association's official body of nurses, they have been on strike because they say in May 2024, the government signed an agreement with them for improved conditions of service, but the government did not implement it. And therefore, this government should implement it. Government is a continuum. I think the government has been stalling, asking for a renegotiation of some of those terms. And the strike action has been declared in phases. So the first 3 days was essentially to withdraw some essential services and then to escalate it this week if nothing happens. The government has been asking for the nurses to come to the negotiation table. The nurses say there's nothing to negotiate. So that's point number one. Point number two, not all the nursing bodies are in line with the strike. So, for example, the Midwives Association have not joined the strike action. The government is urging rotational and nursing interns to work. Now, the Association of Rotational and Nursing Interns says their members cannot work without supervision. So if you're a fresh nurse, a rotational nurse, an intern, you cannot. So they're saying if the senior nurses are not working, we may not be able to work. So they are urging their members to be cautious and not to accede to what the government is saying. Government is also asking the nurses to come back to the negotiation table. The nurses are having none of that. The injunction has been secured but has not been necessarily served. So a number of things to look out for when we come back from the break. Number one, what are the details of the new conditions of service that the nurses want implemented, for which the government is dragging its feet? Or asked another way, what are the problems of nurses that they require the conditions of service to solve? So this does not look just like salary. It looks more like, because the work environment they consider to be difficult and unsafe, they want certain things to be done to assure them of their safety when they work. We'll get into some of those details when we come back. Number two, have they been served with the injunction? Because obviously if they are served, they will have to call off the strike. Number three, it appears some of their leaders are not even in the country. So to reach them, to either serve them or negotiate is proving difficult. And number four, can the government meet them halfway? What's the government saying? Because don't forget, last week we did a show on various health professionals who needed to be recruited and had not been recruited. Some had been at home since 2021. And I think some even 2020. And they had not been employed. And the government was saying they could employ them in phases and things like this. So the health sector is facing a lot of challenges. Jefferson Asari is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the GRNA, Ghana Registered Nurses Association. Jefferson, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Great. So just give listeners a background to the reason why the nurses have been on strike since last week.
All right, thank you very much, and a very good morning to Ghanaians. It's very sad we have gotten here, and we just didn't start from here. We began some time ago, last year, 2024. We completed our conditions of service, that is the collective agreement, in May 2024, and the government was supposed to implement it in July 2024. Unfortunately, I think 2 days before our implementation, some of our members actually we didn't know that they have formed an association. About 88 of them wrote to us that they think that the condition of service that we are having now is not so deserving to the nurse who is working hard and the midwife. So we should go and ask for more from government. And we told them that the Labor Act does not permit that. We will need to start this process or the implementation in a year. That is when we can call for renegotiation, or after 2 years when the document has expired. All we saw was an injunction on the condition of service from this our group. We had some battle at court, and the judge advised that we should go for settlement. We did. They came with their settlement plan, of which they requested 1 million Ghana cedis for themselves as a new union, and 300,000 cedis for their lawyer. I think it was Vomawo who represented them. And we said that the association is not that rich to dole out those money. We do not have. So there's nothing we could do. We went back to court, and the judge still advised that we should go back and do the settlement. We came after a very lengthy conversation. We agreed that we cannot pay the 1 million cedis they are requesting, but at least for their lawyers or whatever it is, we can pay 1/3 of the amount for them. And this we all agreed and went back to court. The judge agreed to it, gave his ruling, and we came back. Fast forward, we were in December when the ruling came. January, we served the Ministry of Health the ruling and also reminded the chief director that this is the ruling we have had. We want the implementation of our conditions of service. The director said, yes, that's fine, but it's a new government. Let's wait for the minister of the sector, then we can implement it. We shouldn't worry. They know about it. They've even written to the Ministry of Finance already. So it wouldn't take any time. We agreed, went back, got the ministers appointed. We went to the minister, engaged the minister. The minister asked us to give time for him to study the document. We said, fine, that's fair enough. We did so. We went back. The minister said that he will need to discuss with the finance minister. We said, fine, that is okay. We can do that. We went back. He said, we are now we are preparing budget, so we shouldn't worry. Let us finish the budget. And he's going to factor us in the budget, and we'll be paid our collective agreement or our conditions of service. We said, okay, that's fine. The budget reading came, and we went to the ministry again. Now the minister is saying that they will need to renegotiate the already agreed terms that even some of our members didn't agree and took us to court. We said, no, that is the Labor Act does not allow that.
So just hold on. Just hold on there. The agreement that was signed in 2024 May, how different is that from the one that was agreed upon in December after your colleagues went to court?
It wasn't different. It was the same agreement that needed to be implemented. It wasn't different. Nothing has changed in that document.
So this minister is asking for a renegotiation of the existing May-December agreement.
Exactly.
Has he said which aspects of the agreement he wants renegotiated?
Some unofficial comments, which I cannot place on air. It's very unofficial. It has not been written to us formally. But in the meeting, he requested that he needs to renegotiate these conditions of service. And some of them, he doesn't think that he can take, and all those comments that are not official. So I can put it here.
So what are the details? What are the details of the agreement that you can share, which may be the highlights of the May, July, December 2024 agreement? Can you give us one or two highlights?
Sure, I can. We are trying to enforce the Workman's Compensation Act. That when the nurse gets injured at work, there's supposed to be some level of treatment for the person. This is what we are seeking to enforce. Nothing new. We are saying that when we go on any other duties like the community services, whatever that is, if we do not get official vehicle, the government or the ministry will need to provide for fuel when we are going to serve the people in the community. This is what we are asking. We are saying that some of us, those working at the rural areas, are disadvantaged in terms of caring for their kids, in terms of electricity, water, in terms of even livelihood. They are disadvantaged. So the government should at least give them something small to cushion them. We are saying that the midwife that in a whole year can deliver between 500 to 1,000 babies. When he goes to even ANC, he pays for it. When that midwife needs para when he's pregnant, he pays for it. Government should at least waive off this payment. These are what we are asking for, not anything new. We will need to research and we will need to improve our services. Government should support us in that bid, such that we can provide the quality that the citizens of Ghana need. This is what we are requesting. It is not anything too big the government cannot do. The government has the ministry have agreed already, and there's nothing to renegotiate.
So you're giving me the highlights, which include operationalization of the workman's compensation, where when somebody gets injured in the course of duty, the employer takes care of them. Then you've spoken about official vehicle for community service. When people are having to move to a community to work, there must be provision for fuel. If there's no official vehicle, there must be provision of fuel.
Provided
yes,
the necessary assistance for them to go out to work.
Yes.
Kindly, they use their own personal money.
And then you also spoke about a cushion for midwives who deliver between 500 and 1,000 babies. And that cushion includes having free treatment for certain basic conditions.
Sure.
Does this also include payment of professional license for nurses? I think it came up in some discussion.
Exactly.
Does the condition of service include that?
Exactly. I spoke about it. That is the continuous professional development. I spoke about it.
Okay, but why should government pay for that for you?
Because government use these professional pins to license all hospitals in Ghana. At HIFRA, government needs these pins. Unfortunately, when government requests for other professionals, they are paying, government pay for it. Not even the renewal, he pays money. Other professionals in Ghana, when their pins are used, they take between 80 to 100,000 here in Ghana. Nurses do not take anything. But you need the pin, a professional license pin of a nurse to make a hospital like Kolebu, a hospital like Rich, a hospital like Nima, a hospital like Kak, and a hospital, even a CHIP compound and health center to be operationalized in law by the HIFRA. So if we are doing that, it is not too big to tell you, renew for me and use it.
All right. Were you able to quantify in monetary terms how much these conditions of service would cost per nurse or for the government?
Majority of what we are requesting is not monetary. Majority of what we are requesting is not monetary. And majority of it is about regulations and managerial changes and stuff. In terms of the CPDs we are talking about, each nurse is not even up to 80 Ghana cedis.
I see. Do you know if these conditions of service financial implications were incorporated into the 2025 budget, which was read, I think, in March? Do you know if the budget appropriation for 2025 included taking care of some of the items in your conditions of service?
The sector minister promised us that in a meeting, and it was one of the reasons we hurriedly agreed and held on to our demand that he is going to do that and will make sure that it is done. But I never heard it.
Okay,
this is the reason why we think that the ministry do not respect us. The ministry does not take seriously our plight. The ministry thinks that we can only work, but we do not deserve anything. They did same to us in the days of cholera. They did same to us in the days of Ebola. They did same to us in the days of COVID. Some nurses that got infected with COVID paid their hospital bills with their own money. The whatever allowances that the government told nurses that you will be paid to them, the insurance, they never received it. Nurses that died during COVID, their family up to now has not been paid a penny. So when will we be recognized?
See, so the understanding we have is that the government wants to meet with you. At least the minister says he wants to meet with you to renegotiate. We are told that your members say you don't want to have any discussion on renegotiation. Is that correct?
We are ready to meet. If we receive a letter this now, we will move in anywhere they are requesting us for us to meet. We will meet. But for renegotiation, we are not ready.
Okay.
In the health ecosystem, it is not only nurses that have conditions of service, but others or even outside the health system, we are the only group that our conditions of service have not been implemented.
All right. Now, we understand some midwives are not part of your strike. Indeed, I'm told the official midwife body, I stand to be corrected here, say they are not part of the strike. Is that correct?
That is false, because GRNMA is the official association for midwives. Some has broken away. That's no problem. But let me tell you, we have close to 128,000 nurses in Ghana actively working in the government sector. GRNMA is over 100,000.
So,
NAMG, I do not want to talk on them, but our focus is not on them. But they are not up to 2,000. So tell me, how can you hold the health system in Ghana? That is not a problem. We are fighting for every nurse, every midwife. Whatever we achieve in this struggle goes for every nurse, every midwife, including their members.
So the things you listed here, how would you know if the government agrees? Because, for example, you say workmen's compensation should be implemented, and then for people who have to do community service with an official vehicle, their money is paid. Do you need some sort of assurance by way of some new letter, or how will you know that government has said yes to allow you to go back to work?
We have done this before, so we know how it's done. The Ministry of Finance will need to give an approval letter, attach it to the conditions of service, and serve all the other agencies. That is all. We did it in 2020. We did it in 2016. We know. So all we are requesting for is approval from the Ministry of Finance. If we receive the approval from the Ministry of Finance, nobody is even going to call us to come to work.
All right.
We will come to work right there and then.
Finally.
So we know that. And if the government is telling me that it can pay, I wonder, because something the same government has signed. The ministry, the sector minister signed the document. You see, what we are saying is we are not dealing with this party, that party, or this government. No. We are dealing with the sector minister. And the work they are doing there is continuous. The people we engage them, the only person that have changed is the minister. All the technical people are there. All the technical people are the Fair Wages and Salary Commission. It is only the commissioner who has changed. All the people are the finance ministry. It is only the minister and some few people who have changed. All the technical people we engage during this condition of service are still there.
All right.
What have changed?
Just a final one. We understand the NLC has secured an interlocutory injunction against your strike after declaring it illegal. We are told the High Court's Industrial and Labour Division in Accra granted the injunction on June 5. Is the association aware of this?
Immediately we are served, we will speak to our lawyers and respond to that accordingly.
And then, as a bonus, the group that took you to court after the July agreement, which was finally settled in December, are they in agreement with this strike?
No, they said they they won't go to the strike, and the government will need to take time and pay those same conditions of service that they were saying that it is too small for the nurse. They say they will join.
So you are fighting two fronts. You are fighting for government to implement your conditions on service.
No. We are not fighting them.
No, I'm making a statement for your. No, let me finish the statement. You can respond. Relax.
Okay.
I'm saying it looks like you are fighting on two fronts. Whilst you are fighting for conditions of service for the broader body of nurses, you seem to be fighting other battles where either some 2,000 midwives or a group of nurses who have taken you to court are not in agreement with your approach to solving the problem. That's what I'm trying to say.
And I'm trying to let you know that is not fight. That whatever their interest is, they can continue. But we are focused. We are directed that we will get these conditions of service implemented. Because whatever that they are doing, the emotions, the propaganda, the social, it does not buy fuel. It doesn't put food on the table of the nurse. It doesn't pay school fees. It doesn't do anything. It is all the betterment of. We want to curtail the exodus of nurses as a nursing body. Our commitment to our nation is to stop this exodus of nurses moving from the country at that higher rate, such that the citizenry will also be protected in terms of what? Health. And that is our basic call for this fight, because we know continuously that we have had very poor conditions of service. Go send your people out there, even look at the chairs that we sit on it at the OPD. Then you move to the officers and go and grant them the interview and look at the chair that they sit on. You see, there's so much injustice, unfairness in the health system, such that the people that are breaking their back, the people that are doing the donkey jobs, are neglected by our sector ministry. And this is the time for us to say that enough of this unfair treatment.
Thank you, Jefferson. Jefferson Asari is a Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. 8:42. 9 o'clock, we take you into the On-Air series. This morning, we're talking about opportunities in agriculture, and my guest will be discussing some basic opportunities in the sector. What do you make of the strike action by the nurses and the government? I haven't heard the government today. I think they spoke over the weekend or something. It looks very quite untidy, this whole situation. Agreement signed in May to have implemented in July. Some nurses went to court. The whole thing could not be implemented until December. And then they agreed that, December will implement, election has come, new government. And then the new government is asking for renegotiation. The nurses say no, it's the one government. It doesn't party change, but government continue. So you have to fulfill this. And they have called a strike. Government has tried to get rotational and interns to work. The people say don't let them work because they are not qualified. Mm-hmm. Hospitals are bleeding. And I don't know where the health minister is.
Well, the health minister, as I understand it, is in town. The last time I heard him address this matter, he was talking about the fact that he wanted to engage a leadership. But quite unfortunately, some of them have left the jurisdiction. So it's been impossible getting them to sit down and talk.
But they are saying they will talk if he invites them today. But they will not only talk, not to renegotiate, but to discuss the implementation plan. That's what the man just said.
Yeah, I think that's a valid position, because government is a continuum, right? When government makes a commitment, we want to believe that those commitments are promises, and by their nature, they will not be influenced by changing circumstances. You must be able to keep them. If the government truly, as we have been told publicly, committed to a certain, course in 2004.
2024.
2024. I think it is just fair that the government should be engaging the nurses and telling them that, look, this is our implementation plan.
But that's on paper. Don't you think the government needs to also, don't you think the nurses need to give the new government a hearing? Because the President Mahama, when he was elected, did say that when they look at the economic conditions, they were much worse than they were told. So the new government can also say that the assumptions under which the previous team gave you those conditions may not be what pertains today. And therefore, even though we agree with the conditions, we may need time to implement it.
Well,
you get it. So there has to be, I feel like there has to be a conversation.
I think what the nurses are saying, they are not saying that they are opposed to a negotiation as to how to proceed going forward with respect to implementation of what has been agreed.
Yeah.
What they will not agree to is an attempt to revise what has been agreed to their detriment.
But should that not be an open door as well? Should that? I mean, are you saying that if you're a new team, Sky, again, look, there is. I think the discussion should happen. The government may say we want to renegotiate some. The nurses may say we don't want. That's the two sides they are coming from. Yeah. Negotiations are like that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we meet at the middle. That's what Ostingame teaches us, right? Everybody has to make concessions.
Yes. But
so I feel like there should be a conversation. There should not be
Bernard,
this. I don't know.
You see, Bernard, nurses are some of the most poorly paid people in this country. They are overworked. They are not given the right tools. If you go to the hospital, the conditions they deal with, Bernard.
Yeah.
They are dealing with so much stress. And if you are married to one of them or you live with one of them, or one is your mother, Charlie, it is serious. So if they say that they have made some concession, because the agreement that they even signed, it was difficult for them to even come to that agreement. So once they have committed to that.
And I also told that it's the same people. So it's like it's not even a political leadership. It's like the chief directors and stuff.
Exactly.
So the question is, what briefing are they giving the new minister?
No,
and also, why hasn't the new minister come out to say clearly that I agree with the conditions of service, and if indeed it is time he wants, do you get it? If he had said, okay, I agree that the nurses deserve this, the budget may not allow us to implement it now. Can they give us 3 months? I'm sure the nurses will listen. But we haven't heard, and that's what's worrying me, because the minister was at Tamale Hospital to deal with some case. You get it? So he should be speaking. There's a big strike on your hands.
Yeah.
And this is less than a year into your administration. He needs to come clean and tell us what the options are, what he's offering the nurses. If the nurses are refusing to listen to him, he should tell the media. He hasn't told us anything. So I don't even know where he is. I thought he was in Rwanda. Yeah. No, because the last time I heard him, he was speaking at some conference in Rwanda.
No, he's back from Rwanda. And I heard him on, a colleague show the other day.
I haven't heard him. Where is his PRO? Where is his spokesperson?
The PRO is dealing with some other matters.
But this is the reason we pay them. The PRO should come and tell us. You cannot have a strike action that's entering its second week. I'm not very sure what the government's offer is. Are they saying we won't do it, or we'll do it but give us time? Or renegotiate some portions. What portions are? We don't know. We don't know.
There has to be clarity.
And there's a whole lot of people who work at the ministry.
Yeah.
So they should be able to tell us something. Issue a statement. Have they issued a statement since it started?
Not that I've seen.
Fred, is there a statement from government since the strike action began? Or have we done any interview with any government person?
Well, the last time we spoke to someone, Dr. Tony Goodman from the ministry.
Yeah.
But we've not gotten an update on that situation as of today.
When I interviewed Tony Goodman, we weren't even discussing the strike. We're discussing the people who had to be employed and had not been employed. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
that was like
last week.
8 days ago, yeah. I don't think it was on the strike.
And related
at the time, I don't think the strike has started. Because the strike started in the course of last week. So the government hasn't officially said anything. Okay, sorry. Sami Yafi interviewed Health Minister on Eyewitness News on Friday. So if I can get what he said, I'll be very happy to play it. So that we get. So I apologize for this. But I didn't follow. So let me air that because I think that you are getting it. Okay, go ahead.
I believe it's very simple. There's an agreement.
Yeah.
Conditions of service.
Yeah.
It should be implemented. You can't tell someone that we need these things to work. You won't work. Because if you're at a job and they tell you that you're going to get a pay rise starting from next week, and they come and then they say, oh, we can't give you the pay rise, you won't be happy. You really won't be happy. So, everyone can understand. And we are being unfair to nurses because we are saying that they are doing life-saving work, they are essential workers, so they should just swallow it like that. I don't believe we are being fair to them.
Well, I will air the audio for you shortly because the health minister, and I did not know, I didn't listen to the Friday show, but I'm told he was on Eyewitness News on Friday. And so I'll add the interviews for you to speak to itself.
And then also, it's also very important to draw the attention of the leadership to the fact that, look, once this matter made its way into the courts, I would expect that there should be some deference also to the courts because it's become public that the courts have granted an interlocutory.
They say they haven't seen it. They should serve them.
They cannot pretend not to know that this has happened. Of course, I understand the legal strategy that people sometimes deploy, that we have not been served, so we cannot listen to radio and act on the same. But I think we should sometimes.
The indication it gives is that if they serve them, they will listen. They'll talk to their lawyers and I'm sure the lawyers will advise them what to do. Yeah. So I mean, let's attempt again to hear the health minister speaking on this matter.
But the government needs to.
So
take
this is
the health matter.
Kwabena Minta Kando speaking on Friday to Sami Wiafe on Eyewitness News.
I'll continue to appeal to our brothers and sisters, the nurses, to return to the facilities to ensure smooth running of these facilities. They are very essential in the management of these health facilities, and we all should endeavor to prevent avoidable death. I believe that whatever the issues are can always be resolved around the table. Strike is not a solution to the matter, especially with regards to the nature of their work. That I will continue to assure them as their mother ministry. We will do our best to ensure that whatever demand or request that is reasonable and legitimate will be pursued to the latter. But hey, with the greatest of respect, I think that you don't sit around the table when you are on strike. And so our doors are open. We'll continue to listen to them and make sure we do our best for them. I don't have a problem when people are working and they are demanding better conditions of service. I don't have a problem about that. But how to go about that is my issue. I think we must handle it well, and I think we can do better. But the fact remains that since I became the minister responsible for health, I've engaged them, and I continue to engage them. We've met more than 6 times. We have talked together. We have sat to put maximum effort, resolve other complicated issues that they didn't have to go to strike or go on strike before those issues were resolved. And so I'll continue to engage them to what they are requesting is implemented.
Lagando, according to the nurses, there's already an agreement signed in May 2024, and all that is left for the implementation.
Hello?
I can hear you, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. I've heard the nurses say that there's already an agreement signed in May 2024. All what is left is the implementation of this agreement, and so they don't really understand why the implementation has become a challenge. And so coming back to come and sit on the table for a negotiation or renegotiation is something they don't understand. From where you sit, is that really the case?
Brother, just like you have said, this agreement was supposed to have been implemented in 2024. It was inherited, and governance is continual. And so when you inherit assets and liabilities, and you just don't do things. You have to understand, you engage, and you continue what is best for the country. I think that we must continue to engage on that matter. It's not a straightforward matter. Go and implement it, and that is all. Anybody who knows about some of these issues will tell you that it's not as simple as you have put it. And so it is very important to engage, to even understand why it has not been implemented till now. You must understand the background. You just don't implement things because you have come to meet them and then you continue to implement them. I mean, you don't do that.
Would you mind to tell us some of the challenges that has resulted in the non-implementation?
No. That at this point, I don't think that is necessary. At this point, I don't think that must come from me. At this point, I don't think that analysis must come from the minister. No.
But minister, the non-implementation is what is resulting in this strike, and the ordinary Ghanaian is suffering.
I have told you that that is not as simple as you are saying, unless of course you think it's simple. That's your opinion. I have told you that at this point, I don't have to be debating on the merit and demerit whether it is legitimate. No, that's not my poster at the moment. My poster is that respect must be reciprocal. I have engaged them and I'll continue to engage them, whatever it is. You don't implement things in vacuum or in the street. You understand? So there's a need, well, unless you also don't respect my opinion, there's a need for us to engage. It is very, very important. That's what I'm saying. It's very, very important to continue to engage, and I have engaged them on several occasions. They never said that because it is left for the implementation, we are not engaging. You understand? So it's not as simple as you're saying. It is not. It is not as simplistic as you put it. So please, and it will never lie with me to come and, come and stay on your radio and start analyzing the issues one after the other. No, at this point, I don't think that is expected of me, and I will not fall into that trap. No, I will never do that, please.
I'm not sure this is really a trap, because the Ghanaian people just want to know what is holding back this whole implementation. But I understand your points and I get where you are coming from. But then until the negotiation and renegotiation, the nurses will still be on strike, and the ordinary Ghanaian will suffer, because we know pregnant women go to the hospitals to see medical care and they are turned away because the nurses are unavailable. And so as health minister, the blame will once again shift to you and the government.
I will continue to appeal to them to go back to the hospitals whilst we continue to engage, my brother. Because it's exactly what you're saying, it's exactly the reason we are saying that, look, they must go back, even if one person who is supposed to go to the hospital to work as a nurse doesn't go. It still has impact on the smooth running of the facilities. And so we will continue to engage them and ask them to go back. I don't think that it is government intention to intimidate anybody, but I don't also think that it is also right and proper for any union to try to hold government to ransom. I don't think so. We have a country to govern, and we must all respect the rules and the laws of the land. And as leaders of this country, we must also take decisions that is the best interest of the nation, of the country.
So that was the health minister on Friday. Speaking to Sami, we are appealing to the nurses to return to the negotiating table without going into the details of what the sticking point, or is it sticky points or sticky points?
I think maybe sticking points.
The stick. Somebody's help me there. what the unresolved matters over the conditions of service where Sami pushed, but he did not get that response. But the minister is urging the nurses to come back to the renegotiation table and also to call off the strike. I think it's sticking points. STICKING, sticking points. All right. Now, a lot of comments are coming through on this, and I think a nurse, a citizen journalist nurse, has been posting his summary of what he believes the matters are in terms of why the nurses are unhappy. I think I can read some highlights of that.
But he's actually even sent us a voice note. So
on the same thing?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so let's hear him. That's Kobe Blay, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So let's hear him.
Good morning. So I've been listening the City CBS this morning, and I appreciate the conversation happening around the nurses and midwife strike. Obviously, quite a number of facts have been espoused, and clearly so. It is the fact that nurse and midwives has established itself in getting documents and agreements back to the employer to remind them about the agreement that was reached. Even before the sector minister was appointed, a group from the JNMA was sent and they went to remind the employer about the agreement that was reached last year. After the sector minister was appointed, the group went back again. But there's been countless attempts by the association, by the nurse and midwives group, to draw their attention to the collective bargaining agreement. But the truth of the matter is, they are not ready to implement it because they found some element in the collective bargaining agreement as not economic friendly. However, these collective bargaining, the elements contained in it, are same items and elements we have used in the past. Only one or two that has been introduced into this document. This document is to ensure the well-being and safety of nurses and midwives on the ward, in their line of work, in the communities. How is it that when you are exposed to any hazardous situation in your line of work, you would have to bear your own cost? You would have to find money and bear your hospital bills. The NHIS covers to a certain point, and that's the end. As we speak, the Residents and Midwives Association continues to give over hundreds and thousands to millions of cedis to its members to seek medical care, medical service. This is not covered by the employer. This and many others, including the rural incentive allowance and all that. But the employer is just trying to be difficult, and they found ways through the management to let the group feel like, well, they are not even concerned, to the extent that they are playing with these other groups, these breakaway groups, to drum up the message that, well, until you sit for any negotiations, there is not going to be any implementation. But it is implementation or nothing.
2 minutes past 9, implementation or nothing. More comments coming in on this subject matter.
Yes, Bernard, this condition of service conversation started way back before I left the country. Most of my colleagues have left because of the poor conditions of service in Ghana, and they are in other countries doing very well, contributing to the economies there. Why is a country or Ghana not implementing the condition of service for these nurses? At least most of them would stay and work instead of move to other places to contribute to their healthcare. Why is it that when it comes to the issues of nurses, the governments find it difficult to implement negotiations or agreements? They want all nurses to work without putting in the considerations for their conditions of service. It's sad. Anyway, I'm happy I left. This is Kelvin in the UK.
Kelvin, come back, please.
Kevin says he's not coming back. But my wife is a midwife, and sincerely speaking, these professionals go through a lot. There is nothing in the agreement that needs renegotiation. It is more than they deserve everything that's there. But the only joy these professionals have is the fact that they save lives. After 6 years of working, my wife's salary as a midwife is 3,999 Ghana cedis. When she falls sick, the facility where she works does not absorb a dime of the health cost. She has to rely on the private insurance which my company provides for her. Meanwhile, the chief executive of the facility where she works, who sits in the office and is entitled to free healthcare that covers for dependents, is asking for 100% health cover for health workers, and some departments too much to ask for 3,999 after 6 years of working as a midwife. What we are doing to the midwives and nurses is very unfair considering the kind of service they provide. I am a public servant married to a midwife. What I take as a net salary compared to the work she does and what she takes is pathetic. No wonder they are leaving the country in droves. I support this strike fully. They shouldn't back down until their demands are met. Daniel from Lashibi Community 17 send us through. Bernard, the health workers are just being unfair. 5 months into government, it's just fair to give the government some breathing space to relook into the agreement before taking a decision. Jones. from send that through. I think the government should just stop the nursing trainee allowances, push all these entitlements to the hospitals to pay with IGF. It's for some of these things that Ghana now has to pay 1 Ghana cedi fuel levy.
Have you ever seen a new government come in and said, oh, as for the conditions of service agreed for Article 71 office holders,
it's too much.
We have seen it,
because it's too much.
So let's go and cut it.
The entitlements.
Let's stop this, please. Pay the people. You have agreed to it. Government is a continuum.
Yes.
Pay them and let them be happy. You are busy flying to Dubai and all these places to receive medical care. When it is your turn, you just go fly like that to first class ticket. Ambulances. You go and then you come back with private jets. The people, all they need is survivor. Please pay them.
Taking you to the Eastern region for the latest on the strike action by nurses and its effect. Here's somebody who's having a real challenge with an infant because of the biting effects of the strike.
The issue at hand right now is I'm at the regional hospital in Koforidua. I had a preterm child, and my baby is in NICU. As it stands now, the nurses are on strike, so the doctors have to work. Can you imagine? The doctors cannot even do tube feeding. They are just not telling us anything. All we can see is they are opening folders and they are just writing. When medications are to be fed, babies are to be fed. They are just not doing anything. All they are doing is just writing. And they can't just leave our children to die in incubators, starving in incubators. It's so heartbreaking to just watch your child starve when you've already expressed breast milk. But who to give the breast milk to? Even your baby cannot even do it. I've been in the facility for like a week and few days. And when the nurses were there, we don't complain. By the time you even express your breast milk and you leave it behind, by the time you come, your baby is fine. They are in the incubators. Unless they are getting oxygen. But how to get their medication and then being fed, we feed them every 3 hours through NG tube. And that is what the problem is this morning. Who to do it is the problem. It seems like they don't even have an idea on how to go about it. Because if they do, they know these babies are being fed every 3 hours. And it's past 3 hours.
Have the authorities spoken to you, other authorities aside the doctors themselves?
We can't see any authorities here. It's only the doctors that we can see. And I think they are even new. I've not even seen them before. Some have not seen them before.
Is there any way we can tell the fate of the babies if this should continue for a while?
Honestly, if the nurses don't resume in 24 hours, I'm sure we'll start losing all these babies in the incubators. We'll start losing them one by one. And these are babies that are fragile.
So this is a mother at the facility in the Eastern region complaining that her preterm baby is not getting the right treatment because of the absence. Yeah, but she can't go in there to do the work. This is very, very serious. And we are expecting an update from the Ministry of Health and indeed the nursing leaders on this matter. A few more comments, Caleb, before we wrap this up.
So, okay, good morning, Bernard.
Morning.
Please, the gentleman you are on the line with should get his facts right. Nurses working in hospitals or health facilities have their professional pins filled on their documents at HEFRA. Unlike doctors, pharmacists, and lab scientists whose details are used to register a facility, you can confirm this from HEFRA. They actually deserve healthcare policy. It's sad they have to pay for it themselves. It demotivates them and sometimes even leads to theft of medications. Bright Blavo, send us through. So can the government get all the nurses signed onto the NHIS? This thing of health workers paying for their healthcare needs is not right. Okay, paying for their healthcare needs is not right. Exactly, Bernard. You are 100% right. I disagree with Sky on this. The previous administration agreed with the negotiation based on their budget, and this is an entirely new government who would also have to consider their own budget and purse before any decisions are taken. The executives have to give the government a listening ear. Kwesi Anfield, send that from Wager. Aloski, I love Sky's objective submissions. Nurses deserve better. How can a professional operative nurse work for 10 years and still take home less than 5,000 Ghana cedis. They are committed. The very committed ones sometimes use even personal resources to help save situations for patients. I am married to a nurse and I know what I'm saying. They deserve better. Ni from Sakumonos and that.
So it's been one issue since the show began, the matter of nurses and their absence from the wards and the effect on healthcare delivery.